Happy New Year! This video is a little late because I spent too much time playing Fortnite Festival last month, so my bad. 2023 is what I would consider my first real year of streaming. I've streamed pretty sporadically since 2019 and even a few times before that when I was still in high school, but ever since I played God of War last year leading up to Ragnarok, I've been more consistent than ever. Over 100 streams this year alone and only 3 or 4 weeks where I didn't stream at all. On my first stream in 2023, I mentioned that I had 270 subscribers at the time, and now at the time of recording this, I'm extremely close to 500. If you've watched me for a little while, you know I love to bring up that I've been making YouTube videos since middle school, and I always knew that consistency was the key to growth. But now actually seeing it happen in real time 11 years later, it's been a huge motivation in my life, so thank you for watching. And I'm happy with how things have played out, because man did I pick a great year to start streaming. 2023 will go down as one of the greatest years for video game releases possibly ever, at least in recent memory. It's funny that in 2022 I felt like I missed out because I didn't get to stream games like Elden Ring or Kirby and the Forgotten Land. But this year has been so insane I can make a top 10 list of games that I didn't play. Hi-Fi Rush is an Xbox exclusive that came out in January from Tango Gameworks, who made the Evil Within games. It's like an action rhythm game hybrid, and you know I love my rhythm games. Lies of P is a Bloodborne-inspired Souls-like that takes place in the world of Pinocchio, but like a dark, fucked-up Pinocchio. Bloodborne is one of my top 3 favorite games of all time, so I've been dying to try this one, but I just haven't been able to get around to it yet. Then you got the big AAA releases like Final Fantasy 16, Diablo 4, Hogwarts Legacy, Street Fighter 6, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Octopath 2, remember that? Huh? That's a game. Then you got the indie games, Sea of Stars, Pizza Tower, Lethal Company, Suika Game, Dave the Diver, even though that's technically not an indie game, but you know, whatever. And not to mention the games that I did try and enjoy, but I haven't even scratched the surface yet, like Armored Core 6 or the elephant in the room, Baldur's Gate 3. For me, and I think most of the general public, Baldur's Gate 3 came completely out of nowhere. It's a sequel that's 20 years after the last game in the series, and it's a super deep CRPG, which is basically the complete Dungeons & Dragons experience, but as a video game. It went viral back in August because of this funny scene where you can have sex with a bear, and then that momentum took it all the way to the top of the Steam charts and sweeping the Game Awards this year. Honestly, this doesn't seem like my kind of game, but I did finally try it on stream the other day, and oh boy. Someday I want to come back to this game and just spend 1,000 hours in it. And there's probably even more that I can name, but that's for another time. Today, I'm going to list my top 10 games of 2023. I streamed every game on this list in its entirety, and these are the cream of the crop. I'll try not to spoil too much about each game, but here's a spoiler warning anyways, just to be safe. So without further ado, let's start at number 10, Mortal Kombat 1. Mortal Kombat is the most popular and commercially successful of all the fighting game franchises, but I never really tried to get good at it until this year where I played Mortal Kombat 9, 10, 11, and now 1. And honestly, I think playing them all back to back like that kinda did a disservice to MK1. Now this is old news, but Mortal Kombat 11 and Aftermath are like really good. MK1 is still a great game, but by comparison I just can't help but feel like it's a bit of a step back. Obviously, MK11 Ultimate includes Aftermath and like years of DLC, while Mortal Kombat 1 is only a few months old, so that makes sense that it feels more bare bones because it is. So I'm really hoping they add more characters than the ones that have already been announced, and I think it's already been confirmed or maybe just leaked, but they are working on more story DLC, so we'll get an Aftermath soon, hopefully. Once it's all said and done, we can look back and see if MK1 surpasses 11, but as of today, I can definitively say it does not, at least for me. And if I didn't just play MK11, I can easily see Mortal Kombat 1 going higher on this list, and that's just for the story mode alone. These are what sets Mortal Kombat apart from other fighting games for me. The badass cutscenes with world-ending stakes and these classic characters that we've grown to love over the years. So even though it sounds like I'm down on this game, I still say it easily deserves a spot in the top 10. Plus it has Omni-Man, come on, Omni-Man, come on. Number 9, Metroid Prime Remastered. Metroid Prime on the GameCube is one of the greatest games ever made, full stop. So just take that and remaster it in HD on the Switch and obviously you've got a banger on your hands. By the way, this is the first of multiple remasters and remakes in my top 10. Some gamers will argue that a remaster shouldn't count as one of the best games of the year because it's just the same old game that you've already played. I, on the other hand, think that's stupid and wrong. I don't even care that Metroid Prime specifically is like a one-to-one remaster. It is the exact same game from 20 years ago. But the graphics are better, the controls are better, and you can play the whole thing handheld. Metroid Prime has been and continues to be a masterpiece in 2023, so boom, it's in my top 10 games of 2023. Now you might be saying, if it's a masterpiece, why is it only number 9 on your list? Well, 1, this year is insane like I said at the beginning, and 2, I didn't love all the backtracking at the end of the game. I fully understand that backtracking is the name of the game for Metroid, literally there's a whole genre called Metroidvania. But still for me it soured the end of the game just a little bit, but that's just because it was my first playthrough. I'm sure as I make my way through the rest of the series, and hopefully one day Metroid Prime 4, I'll appreciate this game more and more, and each repeated playthrough will be even better than the last. All that said, this game still impressed the hell out of me, so it's number 9. Number 8, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Let's cut to the chase. This game is beautiful, but it's too easy. I hate to admit it, but Jesus with Gun in my chat was right. The game is just a little too easy. And that's totally fine. I had so much fun playing it on stream. But I can't help but feel like if they just upped the difficulty a little bit more, this game would have been top 5, maybe even top 3 for me. But as it stands, it's number 8. Kind of the same with Mortal Kombat. I played all the new Super Mario Bros. Games except for 2 right before Wonder came out. I don't think it made as much of a difference as Mortal Kombat because I feel like Mario Wonder is better than all of the new Super Mario Bros. Series. But playing them back to back still put the difficulty into perspective, and it makes Wonder really stand out as much easier than the rest. The hardest games for me were New Super Luigi U, which that whole game's shtick is being difficult, and the first new Super Mario Bros. On DS, which I think I just sucked at. Just give me that difficulty with the creativity of Wonder and it would have been, chef's kiss. And I still haven't even beat the last level in Wonder. That one's hard as hell. The whole special world cranks up the difficulty exactly like I wanted, and it's so fun. At the end of the day, it's Mario. Mario is always going to be for a younger audience first and foremost. So it's not a bad thing that Wonder is easy. It's just that I feel that it could have been even better. So for that reason, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is number 8. Number 7, Alan Wake 2. Spoilers for the rest of the list, but 2023 was, on top of everything else, an amazing year for horror games. The first one we're talking about today is Alan Wake 2. I've never played Alan Wake 1, I've never played Control, and I still enjoyed the hell out of this game. There were moments where I felt a little lost and a lot of references that went straight over my head, but even so, I loved the style and the flash and the trippy story they had to tell. Was the combat the best? No, it was serviceable. Was it the scariest game I've ever played? No, but I did get jump scared a million times. Was the mind place necessary? Not at all. The mind place needed a lot of work. Even without playing Alan Wake 1 or Control, I understood what was going on probably like 90% of the time. I can only think of maybe 1 or 2 instances where the notes in the mind place actually brought me up to speed on something I missed. It never made me feel like a detective putting together my Pepe Sylvia board, it just kind of felt like a matching game. They could have made it more useful by maybe giving out hints for some of the puzzle locks that are in the game. That way I wouldn't have had to Google the answers so I could get better guns. Or they could have just made the mind place optional, but that's probably my biggest gripe with the game. The writer's room though, banger, one of the coolest mechanics ever. When I started the game, I thought Alan's chapters were better, but now in hindsight, all my favorite parts of the game were saga chapters. Overall, I would say this game is much greater than the sum of its parts, but the art direction and stylization really go a long way in making it all come together. They recently added an alternate ending for New Game Plus that I kinda wanna get, and not to mention I have to play through Alan Wake 1 and Control. So this game was good enough to make me wanna play 2 whole ass other games and a second playthrough. Take that as you will. Final note, I've never played anything like the We Sing level before, but I still feel like that's the worst song in a game filled with great original music, so that's kind of a bummer. After watching them perform it live at the Game Awards and seeing Sam Lake do his silly ass dance, I realized it's kinda supposed to be cheesy, that's the whole point. And I always knew that, but it really set in after seeing it live. But still, if that song was actually a banger, and if some of the other little nitpicks that I mentioned got fixed, Alan Wake 2 could have been my game of the year. But as it stands, it's number 7, and I can't wait for Alan Wake 3. Number 6, Super Mario RPG. I'm not a huge RPG guy, but as a Pokemon and Paper Mario enjoyer, I really loved Super Mario RPG. Just a short, sweet romp through the Mushroom Kingdom with a ton of fun characters and a banger soundtrack, possibly the best soundtrack of the year. I still haven't gotten around to playing the original Super Nintendo version, but it's definitely on my backlog now. This game gave me a craving for Super Nintendo RPGs that I might start throwing into my streams next year. Really, there's not much more I can say other than this was an amazing experience. A little weird how sometimes there were no sound effects, but I understand that's because that's how it was on the Super Nintendo. All I can say is that I'm just sad that I never found the bee Yoshi, so for that reason alone, it's number 6. Number 5, Pikmin 4. Let it be known that 2023 was the year I became a Pikmin fan. Pikmin 1 is great as baby's first real-time strategy game, and I like racing against the clock, and it gives it an almost arcadey feel. Pikmin 2 is a lot more ambitious and a lot more challenging. I'm learning to cope as I realize that losing Pikmin is inevitable in this game, but other than that, I still like this game a lot, and I want to go back and collect every item. Still haven't finished that or gotten around to Pikmin 3 yet, but Pikmin 4 though? Holy moly, what a satisfying video game. So many quality of life improvements that make this such a great time that I was compelled to go for 100% completion right from the start. I've never been that guy to strive for 100%, but this game made it hard not to. Even the Dandori challenges or the Olimar story where you gotta find 30 parts in 15 days, none of that fazed me. I could have gone for 100 more hours of Pikmin 4. I really debated putting this game higher on the list, and it probably should be. But the top 4 is so hard to rank in general that throwing Pikmin 4 in there feels like comparing apples to oranges. So I think this is the right call, but damn did I love this game. Also, I'm naming my next dog Ochi. Number 4, Dead Space Remake. These next 2 games are really hard to rank, and honestly I still feel like this one should go higher, but there's one specific reason that I'm putting Dead Space Remake at number 4. I'll elaborate later, but let's start by giving this game its flowers. The original Dead Space is a survival horror classic from the PS3 and 360 era. I was 9 years old when it released, and I didn't have those consoles. and I was a big pussy. So I played Dead Space 1 for the first time in 2021, and I saw and acknowledged all the things that made it a classic in 2008, but personally I didn't think it aged all that well. It took me 9 months to finally finish the original game because I was forcing myself to get through it after a while. I finished it just to finish it. Then in January I played Dead Space 2 leading up to the remake, and I enjoyed that one much more. It wasn't as scary, but it was more fun to play. And then, long story short, Dead Space Remake comes out, and it's basically the best parts of 1 and 2 all put together and modernized, and it really blew my expectations out of the water. I had an amazing time with it. This is by far the definitive Dead Space experience and is 100% a classic. It does the original game so much justice, and I really have nothing bad to say about it. It just feels good, looks good, plays good, is good. Honestly, I had such a good time with it that it really should be number 3, but I'll explain why I fell to number 4 right now, because number 3 is Resident Evil 4 Remake. If you didn't know by now, the original Resident Evil 4 is my favorite game of all time. It was the game that helped me face my fears and start getting into all things horror after being a big scaredy cat as a kid. It was the first game I played and the first YouTube video I ever made. And ever since Capcom started remaking the Resident Evil games, this was my most anticipated remake. Now RE2 Remake was fantastic, but RE3 cut a lot of content from the original game and it ended up being way too short, so that made me pretty nervous for RE4. If anything, I wanted this remake to be twice as long as the original game, with new levels and an alternate ending where Leon fights Las Plagas on the fucking moon. But that didn't happen. The remake added some stuff, but it ended up being a little shorter than the OG. Before this game came out, I went on record saying the only way this game would live up to my expectations is if it makes the original game completely obsolete. So needless to say, my expectations were high, and I can safely say I didn't meet my lofty hopes, which I kinda saw coming. This is why I said Dead Space Remake should probably be number 3, and this game number 4, or maybe even number 5 under Pikmin. I wasn't expecting to love Dead Space or Pikmin as much as I did, and they were both fantastic experiences the entire way through. RE4 on the other hand had all the pressure in the world to live up to the hype, so that framed every minute of my playthrough with me comparing every chapter to the original game, deciding if it was better or worse. But there's exactly one specific reason that I decided RE4 should be above Dead Space on this list, and that reason is replayability. When I finished Dead Space, I was completely satiated. I played the whole thing and I had a great time, and now I'm done. Deleted it off my PS5 and I don't feel the need to play it again anytime soon, or maybe even ever. Same goes for Pikmin 4. I got 100% and I moved on to the rest of the series. But as soon as I finished RE4, I started another playthrough. I remember on stream looking at the trophy list and thinking, some of these are ridiculous. I have to beat the whole game with only pistols and knives? Or beat the whole game without talking to the merchant? That sounds impossible. And low-key could be kind of fun. I started the pistol only run right away, and it's been a super fun challenge on professional difficulty. Just the fact that I'm actually down to do like the 7 full playthroughs that are required to get the platinum trophies says everything you need to know. I love this game. Even though it isn't perfect like I wanted, I would give it like a 9 out of 10 personally. It still ended up kind of replacing the original game for me. I've played the original RE4 countless times over the years, and it's never gotten old, but now I think I'm good. I only want to play the remake. This year has been so busy that I haven't gotten back to my pistol only run. The last thing I did was beat the Mendez boss fight, and I still haven't even touched the Separate Ways DLC that came out in October. But RE4 Remake is now untouchable on my PS5. I'll never delete it to make space for another game. Whenever I'm in the mood for Resident Evil, I'm just gonna boot it up and slowly keep working on the platinum trophy. It'll probably take me 5 years at this rate, but that's perfect in my mind. Any game that has that kind of longevity to hold my interest for multiple years is a special one. So Resident Evil 4, my beloved, you are number 3. The last 2 games on the list were also hard to rank at first, and when I reveal number 2, that's going to make it obvious what number 1 is. So without further ado, number 2, Marvel's Spider-Man 2. If you watched some of my Spider-Man streams after I rolled credits, I was quick to call it my game of the year. And for a solid month, it really was number 1 on my list. I even made a table comparing and contrasting these top 2 games, and I was still leaning towards Spider-Man, but I'll explain why it moved down later. First of all, holy shit, what an amazing experience, no pun intended. My most viewed video on this channel is Spider-Man PS4 gameplay on the PS5 backwards compatibility that I recorded on PS5 launch day. It's 30 minutes where I just play through the intro of the first game. That was my first time ever trying it, and I enjoyed it fine, but when the video ended, I turned it off and I never touched the game again because it was exactly what I expected. I love Spider-Man movies as much as the next guy, but for some reason, I didn't have any desire to play this game. I felt like I got it. It's a big open world New York that you swing through and beat up bad guys, find collectibles, rinse and repeat. And honestly, now that I've played them, I was right about all that. But what caught me by surprise about these 3 Insomniac Spidey games is exactly how good the main story is. It's straight up Naughty Dog level cutscenes and storytelling with Uncharted sized set pieces. That's all I can keep comparing it to in my mind. It's like Uncharted but open world, and Spider-Man. It sounds dumb, but if someone told me that the story missions were this level of good, I would have played these games a long ass time ago. Spider-Man 1 impressed me with how they managed to tell a new Spidey story that didn't feel like a cheaper version of any of the movies. Miles Morales did kind of end up feeling like a DLC to me, but I can admit that's not the best way to play the game, just mainlining the main story. If I played Miles Morales at a slower, normal pace and I did all the side missions, I'm sure I would have had a better time with it. But Spider-Man 2 though? Holy fuck! Even though this game is number 2 on my list, the story campaign, main quest, whatever you want to call it, that's the best one of the year, by far. Even better than my number 1 game. Here's another Naughty Dog comparison. Spider-Man 2 is the best story since The Last of Us Part 2. That's high praise for me. Every new level managed to wow me. Even if I knew how things were going to play out, the execution was still so good that I didn't even care. And again, slight spoilers, but the whole Venom reveal blew my mind. Actually, big spoiler warning. Let me explain the Venom thing a little deeper. After Peter gets the symbiote, but before Venom appears, someone in my chat, who shall remain nameless, was spreading misinformation, and they said something along the lines of, don't play as Peter too much or you'll get the bad ending. I was still playing through the game, so I didn't know for sure, but in the back of my mind, I was like, I don't think this game has multiple endings. That doesn't sound right. I would be shocked if this game had a good and a bad ending. And I was right, there is no bad ending. This chatter was just talking out of their ass. I guess there's some other Spider-Man game where if you play as Venom too much, he takes over and you get the bad ending? I have no idea, but this chatter just applied that same logic to this game for no reason, even though it's a completely different game by a completely different developer. So anyway, the Venom section of the game starts and I'm loving it. They've been building up to this reveal and now Venom is here and now I'm playing as him and it's fun as hell. And that same chatter keeps going, pretending like he knows what he's talking about, and he's like, no, you got the bad ending. Yup, this is the bad ending. And I'm still here saying like, there's no way this game has 2 endings. That would be stupid if playing as Venom gets you the bad ending. This whole game was marketed around Venom. That just doesn't make sense. But even so, I've never played the game, so I don't know 100%. And the chatter keeps talking so confidently that I'm thinking he probably beat the game already or he just watched a video spoiling the ending or something. So anyway, I keep playing and I'm enjoying my time as Venom. I'm strong as fuck. I'm absolutely mowing down hordes of enemies, like straight up killing these guys. And this level just keeps on going for a long time and I can feel it. I'm like, damn, I've been killing guys for like 20 minutes now. And then Venom breaks out and starts terrorizing the New York streets. And I'm like, how long is this gonna go? At this rate, it is gonna be the bad ending. I'm gonna destroy the whole city and everyone in it. And then he bites Kraven's head off. And then this cutscene plays where the whole world gets covered in the symbiote. And then it cuts to black. And I'm just speechless, like, what the hell just happened? And for a minute there, I actually believed it. Oh shit, is this really the bad ending? It feels like it. It feels like I just walked out of Infinity War and everyone just got snapped. Like, what the fuck? And then the next cutscene starts and then there's Peter. I was right, there is no bad ending. But the fact that I actually believed it for like a split second is crazy. That just speaks to how good Insomniac is and how amazing this game is, that this chatter just straight up lying to my face actually enhanced my experience a little bit. That Venom level went on so long that I actually believed that the world ended for a second there, bro. That's a gaming moment I'll never forget. So Spider-Man 2's story missions and cutscenes are the best of the year, and they're so good that this was so close to being my game of the year. But now let's talk about my actual game of the year and explain why. So this was probably obvious, but my game of the year for 2023 is definitely not Starfield. It's The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I spent 3 straight months streaming this game, getting all the shrines and the dragon tears and exploring the depths and finding all the cool costumes. 3 months straight in this game, and I enjoyed every fucking second of it. Not a bland moment to be found. I finished this game in late July and I thought, there's nothing that can top this. And then the fall happened and I played a million other great games in a very short amount of time. And while I was playing Spider-Man 2, I kind of forgot exactly what I loved so much about Zelda. Even though Tears of the Kingdom is my game of the year, I still agree that Spider-Man 2 has a better story by far. I'm a pretty story heavy guy, so that's why Spider-Man 2 was my game of the year for about a month after I rolled credits. And then I went back to the game to get the Platinum Trophy. To get the Platinum Trophy in Spider-Man, you basically have to 100% the game. All the side missions, all the upgrades, and all the collectibles. Before the game even came out, I heard that it's a pretty fun and easy Platinum to achieve, so I went for it. And it was a pretty painless experience. I'm glad I got the Platinum. But it was in this moment that I realized, wait a minute, this feels a little repetitive. Go here, beat up these bad guys. Go here and beat up these bad guys. Go here and beat up these bad guys with Miles. The entire time that I was working on the Spider-Man Platinum, it just felt super repetitive. It was still satisfying to beat guys up and check another box off the checklist. I was still having fun, but it was still repetitive nonetheless. And this is when I realized, remember when I played Zelda for 3 months straight and I didn't feel like this at all? Even in the depths I didn't feel like this. And that's probably the most repetitive part of that game, that there's just enough magic in exploring the unknown to keep it interesting. To me, Tears of the Kingdom never felt repetitive, not once in the 150 hours I played in that game. Now, you can probably find a clip of me contradicting that statement, but at least off the top of my head, I can't think of one moment in Zelda where I wasn't happy to do the same thing in a new area. Even exploring the same Hyrule from Breath of the Wild didn't feel repetitive. That itself is an accomplishment. I heard so many people complaining online about grinding for the crystals so you can upgrade your battery and use your devices longer, and at first I kind of agreed. It did feel like a big grind for such a little upgrade. But then just naturally exploring the depths and fighting bosses, I racked up those crystals pretty quickly. I don't think I ever felt like my battery died too quick. If anything, it felt like some of the devices disappeared too quickly. I kinda wish you could just make a plane and keep it alive and fly around the whole map. At least that's what I thought I wanted, and then I built the hover bike and I did exactly what I just described, and I realized, oh wait, this is boring just flying around, it's too easy. That's why they put a limit on the glider, so you don't fall asleep from boredom. I don't know how Nintendo does it, but they're just magicians. They just get it. They just know what the fuck they're doing. I was so quick to declare Spider-Man as my game of the year, but then I spent any time outside of a main mission thinking, ugh, I had to stop another tanker from exploding? Another high-speed chase? And to be fair, I didn't 100% Tears of the Kingdom. There's still more costumes and side quests and like 3,000 Korok seeds for me to find. If I go back and I do all that, then maybe yeah, it probably will start to feel repetitive. But still, never in 150 hours of Zelda did I get the same repetitive feeling that I felt in 30 hours of Spider-Man. It just took me going for the Platinum Trophy to realize that, so thank you, Spider-Man. I don't know what else I can say about Tears of the Kingdom. They did it again. AGL Numa has gone on record saying that they won't use the same Hyrule again for the next Zelda game, so now that we know for a fact that this is the end of the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom era, I can say these are two masterpieces, without a doubt. I have over 300 hours between both of these games and they never overstayed their welcome. Tears of the Kingdom took one of the greatest games of all time and just made it bigger and better in every way. And for that reason, it's my game of the year for 2023. Thank you for watching.